In today's video, I'll guide you on how you would be able to set up your Claid account, explore key features like background removal, light fix, resize and expand, AI fashion models, and integrations. And we will be finishing with the pricing plans, essentials or the pro plan to help you choose the best fit for your needs and budget. By the end, you'll know exactly how you can use Claid to streamline and elevate your image editing workflow. Alright, first thing that you should do is to go into the description and use the link to go here into the website of Claid AI. In that way, you would get the best deals that is currently available. And take note that there might be some coupon codes in there, so make sure to scan the description and look out for them. Once you're here, you can now start by setting up your account. You can click here on login or sign up, or click here on start creating for free, depending on which one you'd want, basically the same thing. Once you do that, you'll be prompted in here. So now you can continue with your Google account or your email and password. And after that, click on login. Once done, you will now be successfully prompted in here into the homepage of Claid AI logged in into your account. And you'd be able to see that we have our free trial right here. And if you would want to know more about the plans, you can check out later on in this video. We'll be talking more about that. But for now, let's focus on the features and what you would get here on Claid AI. So first is we have dashboard right here. So basically this is where you'd be able to see a quick overview of the features here in Claid AI. We have the quick start, we have the remove background, a photo shoot, enhanced quality, and many more right here. You can just scroll down and then you could see it right here. But if you'd want to see everything, you want to go here into the editing studio. Now in here, we would now be able to see all the different features that we would be able to use here on Claid. First up is that we have the improved quality and upscale. So this is its icon right here. So it's by clicking in any of this button, it's basically the same thing. When I click on that, as you can see, their icon would remain. So if you're confused by that, it's basically the same thing. So we have improved quality and upscale, we have removed background, AI photo shoot, AI backgrounds, and many more right here. So we'll be testing each one of them so I could demonstrate how useful the features here in Claid are. First up, we have the improved quality and upscale. And now in here, you'd now be able to see the size of your image once it's upscaled. So as you can see, we have 200 in width and height. Take note that this is in percentage. You could also change it into pixels if you would want to, and it would detect the upscaled output of your picture or product. So yeah, depends on what you'd want. You can go for 2 times or 4 times, depending on which one you'd need. And then we have the general right here. If it does not fit one of these other categories, like places, people, digital arts, and text. So make sure that you select the correct category for this. And notice that we have polish right here. So basically, this would redraw the image to enhance sharpness and remove unnecessary artifacts while preserving the original structure. So you could enable that to further enhance your photo when you are in general category or mode. You can go for into places, same thing, you have polish, people, you have polish, digital art, you now have decompress. So basically, this would remove JPEG compression artifacts that appear after saving the image to JPEG with low to medium quality. So this is basically for further enhancing, just for it to be perfect. So if you're spotting those minimal errors, then you could enable this to remove them. And then we also have text. So same thing, you have the decompress or remove artifacts for them. You could enable that if needed. So in this case, I'm just going to go for general, and basically once everything is good, you can click here on apply operation, and it will now finalize the process and undergo the upscaling of your product or image. And then you'd now be able to click here on download. It will now be available once the upscaling is finished, and you'd now be able to use the upscaled image. That's it. Next up, we have the remove background. So in here, you just simply would want to upload your photo in here that you would want to remove the background in. So now I'm just gonna upload my file. So you can click here and then this would appear. So you can choose the photo, or you could just simply drag it just like this one. So just simply drop it here and then it will now be uploaded, as you can see, and it's now scanning the image. And notice that we have 3 different modes. So we have general, prompted, or interactive, depending on which one you prefer. So here in general is basically the most simple one. And in here, you want to choose the background color. So you can make it transparent if you just want to remove it or change it into a new color. You can select the color in here and choose the color that you'd want to change the background into. In my case, I just want to remove it, so I'm just going to go for transparent. Next, we have clipping. So for this one, I want to turn it on because this means that the AI applies a tighter crop or cut, hugging the subject's edges more closely. This is best for product shots when you want the subject isolated as cleanly as possible. I would want that, so I'm going to turn on clipping. And next is that we have the car toggle. So this is only optimized detection for vehicles. So if your photo involves cars or vehicles, then you might want to turn this on for a more precise and accurate cut. Next, we have padding. So this is basically the extra space around the subject for designed flexibility. So basically this would add extra space around the subject after background removal. As you can see, you can choose no paddings. You can go for general. You can add some 20% of extra space around it so that it will not be too tight. You could go for safe zones in here. You can set that if you don't want to. In my case, I don't want paddings. Clipping is enough. So I'm going to go for no paddings and no car and transparent. So once everything is good, you're going to click here on apply operation. And now it's now going to take the process in removing the background based on your settings or changing the color if that's what you have selected. As you can see, it has done a great job in removing the background. And now our product is now isolated. So that's the general mode right here. So this is the most simplest one. But if you would want a prompt, then you can go for prompted. So for this one, I'm going to use another photo for an example. So I'm going to use this one, drag it, and here it is. So now, the prompted cutting is a guided removal using text prompts. You type what you want to keep, as you can see right here, like watch, plant, or whatever it is, and then the AI will isolate it. So this is for e-commerce, product photography, complex images with multiple objects. This is the removal mode for you. So now, for example, I just want to keep the mobile version, which is this one right here. So go for a cell phone. And then you could go for the background again. You can make it transparent or just change color depending on what you'd want. In my case, I just want it to be transparent. And then we have the clipping again. So I'm going to turn that on. And then the paddings once again. And then once you're all done with the settings, you're going to click here on apply operation. And now here is the result. As you can see, the cell phone or the mobile version is now isolated from the whole picture. And now it's quite blurry. That is because it is actually scaled up or zoomed in. As you can see, it's now fitting the whole canvas instead of just a part of it. And the cut is not that good. As you can see right here, this is a big mess up. And we would want to fix this. So what we were going to do is that we can't fix this here in the prompt. You could go for padding, but it will not solve this actually. It is much preferable that you do this on interactive. So we'll just discuss interactive also right here, right now. So basically when you go here into interactive, after using the prompted mode, you would now be able to see the highlighted part right here already that you have specified here on prompted. Now, you just want to go here into remove because we just want to remove this part. So make sure that you are on the remove mode. Now, you could now select or click on the green parts that you don't want to get. So I have clicked on them and now as you can see, it's looking good. And then next is that I can go for the options here. Again, we have now the color, transparency, clipping, and padding. So for this one, I'm going to go for general and paddings. And I'm just going to go for 20%. And yeah, because this is what I recommend when you go for interactive. If you go for general, I think no padding should be great. But here in interactive, I recommend going for general with at least 20% padding. Now let's click here on apply operation because now we're done with everything, and let's see the result. And here it is. The cut is now much cleaner. If you would want to enhance it even further, make the cut more accurate, then you could mess with the interactive more, because this is the most accurate and precise removal tool that you could use here in Claid in removing your background. So you could mess with removing and adding the keying or chroma key effect here in background removal. And it's still quite blurry. That is because our base image is already blurry. So that is why the outcome here is also blurry. Now, if you'd want to fix this, you can just simply go back in here into improve quality or upscale, and then you could now just upscale that, and it should solve the blurriness if it's not too bad. Next is that we have the AI photo shoot. So in here, first, let's upload our product. So let's just choose one of them. Let's say this one. I'm going to click on that. And now from here, as you can see, we now have our lovely muffin in here. So you could place that somewhere in here. You could resize that. So basically this would dictate where your product will be placed on the final image. So let's say I would want to position it right here. So I would want to put some text in here on the final one. So I'm just going to leave it as it is right there. And then you could go into the aspect ratio. So you could select different ones. As you can see, the canvas would also take shape according to the aspect ratio of your choosing. Let's say like this is good for me. I'm going to go for 16:9, and then the generation mode. So first is that we have the precise. So this is the mode that you would want to be if you just want to be generic with your idea. So basically you would just need to put out your idea here in the prompt. So by default, there is a sample prompt in here that would most likely go well with your product. You could also just delete all of them if you don't want that. I just want a simple orange background, something like that. So as you can see, it's very simple, very generic. So this is best on precise. And images to generate, I only want one. So now I can click here on apply operation. That would cost 4 credits. And from here, it's now gonna take the process, and we will now be able to see the final result in a bit. All right, here's the result. As you can see, it is now with an orange simple background. As you can see, it's very simple, very plain, which is exactly what I needed from the precise and from a prompt. Now, let's do this in creative mode. So in here, when you go into creative, as you can see, we will now not be able to change the position of the product image. And so, as you can see here in precise, we'd be able to do that, but now in creative, we can't. And in here, make sure the aspect ratio is good. And then the creative mode is enabled, and now describe your photography vision. So we could do it something like this. So let's say a woman taking a bite of the muffin, sitting in a chair. Let's say something like that. So this is much more complex compared to the precise prompt that we did earlier. So now let's see, click here on apply operation, 4 credits. And now here is the result. As you can see, it is incredibly good. The product right here is looking the same, exactly the same as we have right here on our product image. So now here it's blending seamlessly. It's freakishly good. The AI did a really great job with our prompt also. It's a very accurate depiction of our prompt. So basically this is creative. So it would let the AI be as creative as it wants to be. It decides the position and the size of the object in the final image. That is why we will not be able to move the object here on the canvas, as you can see right here. So that's the creative mode. And now next one that we have is the inspiration mode. We'll still be using the muffin, aspect ratio, still your preference, which one you'd want. And then now we get to pick an inspiration image. So this is where we will get our style from. So now I'm going to go and upload one. I'm going to click here and upload. All right. So now here it is. So now I can click on that, make sure it's selected, click on select asset. And now it's going to be in here. Now you can choose the images to generate. So I'm just going to choose one so that I could save more credits, and click on apply operation. And let's see if it would copy the style in here, apply our product itself into this kind of style or in this image. And now here is the result. As you can see, it is again incredibly good. It is very accurate to the product image that we have right here. As you can see, you could compare that. And then we have our inspiration image, which is this one. As you can see, it has copied this style and it made it even better. It got some glistening lights right here in the background, same as the reference image. And then some nips right here, or some chocolate something. So yeah, that's a little extra. So it also copied that, and there are also 3 muffins right here right now. So incredibly good. I really like it. So this is how the inspiration mode works. Next one that we have is the background feature or the background mode. So in here, once you selected the background, you will now be able to select your product. So let's say this one again, muffin, and then pick a background image. Now you can click here. Same thing with the inspiration mode. You can just go and select your picture now. Once you have now successfully uploaded your picture, click on it to select, and then you would want to verify this. If this pops up, click on select asset, and then we would now have successfully created or picked our background image. Now, next is choose the images to generate, number of images. So you can go for 1 to 4, and the larger the number, the larger the credit spending. So I'm just going to go for 1 and click on apply operation. Now it's going to process our AI photo shoot. As you can see right here, let's just wait for it for the final result. All right, here's the result. As you can see, it has seamlessly blended our product in our background image that we have uploaded right here. As you can see, this is our product right here, and we can even manipulate that on where it will be placed right here. But on the operation that we applied or we submitted, it is in the middle, so it's in the middle. But if you want to change the position, this is where you could do it, by the way, right here. So you could change the position, let's say right here, and now it will apply some shadows and so on in order for it to be realistic, just like here in the final output. So yeah, that's how the background mode works. It's very simple yet very powerful. Next one is that we have the mockup mode on AI photoshoot. So again, let's select our product. Now this time we'll be selecting this one right here. So we have chosen this product. And then, as you can see, we are not able to move around the object or resize it because we're in the mockup, and the aspect ratio is also grayed out. Now we just need to pick a mockup image. So I'm going to click here and click here again and upload my image once again. So it is this one. Click on open. And now, as you can see, it is now uploaded. Select it and click on select asset. And it should now be right here on the mockup image. Now, all that's left is to select the number of images to generate again. So I'll just choose 1 so that less credit spending, and click on apply operation. It's now gonna process it. Let's just wait for it to load, and the product should now be applied to the mockup image that we have provided. And now next one that we have is the AI background templates. And in here, you'd now be able to see the different categories in here that you could use. So basically, very similar with the AI photoshoot that we did earlier. So we have humans. So in this category, this is like the mockups right here that you could use or combine your product with. We have the popular, the nature, the flat lace right here. We have minimal and some others. So for example, I'm going to choose humans for this one. And I'm going to use this image. I'm going to click on that. And then you can choose the generation model. You can go for V1 or V2. So in this case, since this is a human template, so this is not applicable with V1. So we're just going to go V2, and creativity level. You can go for low, medium, or high. So basically, this dictates how much the AI would be able to play with the images and give you a highly creative result. So in this way, I'm just gonna go for medium, just average, and then the images to generate, I'm just gonna go for 1, so it will not cost too much. And then this one right here. So 1 MP means lower resolution, lighter file size, which is good for quick previews, web use, or when you don't need high detail. You could also go for 2 MP or 2 megapixels for higher resolution, sharper details, better for product shots, marketing materials, or any case where clarity matters. So I'm just gonna go for 2 MP for this one. And then now you can describe the scene around your product. So this is not available for this creativity level. You could go for other, like high, and then you could now enter a prompt. So this is where you'd be able to play around a little bit more. In this case, I'm just gonna go for medium because I don't want to use the prompt, and then choose my product in here. Let's say that I would want to use the muffin again. Click here, and as you can see, I can now reposition the image right here, as you can see here in this canvas. Now, if it is not placed correctly, but it should be because the AI would detect that, then you could just manually move it around and position it. So in my case, I'll just put it back in here. And then once you're satisfied with everything, you can click here and apply operation. Now, you'd now be able to see that it's not processing, and let's wait for the final result. Alright, so now here's the result. As you can see, the product right here blended seamlessly with the image that we have. As you can see right here with our reference, now it's blended perfectly in here. And yeah, it has a refined image. And then this is the second one right here. So there is a little bit of changes, but still a very good image. The product is blended well, like it's like one image. So yeah, I think overall it's pretty great. Next one is that we have the choice here to go for our own templates. So in here I have this one right here. So you could also upload one right here on the AI background that you could use. You can click here and then you can select the background that you want. So in my case, I just want this. So I'm just gonna go click here and upload new image, and then let's say that I would want to go for this product. I'm gonna click on that, and then from here, as you can see, I could now reposition it again. So basically the same thing, but this time the mockup or the background is from our own image or our own file. And same thing right here. You could now choose the generational model, creativity level, images to generate, and so on. So I'm gonna go use V1 for this, and let's see. I'm gonna go for medium, images to generate is just 1, and click on apply operation. And then once again, it is processing. Alright, so now here is the result. And now from here, we can now click here and download if you'd want to use it now, or export this from Claid. You could also say the background is a template, and so on. So we'll be discussing the others later on. Alright, so next up we have the erase brush. So in this one, you would want to select the image here first. So I'm going to use this image. And then this is where we can regenerate parts of the image. Let's say that I would want to regenerate some of this Skittles right here, or whatever you may call this. So basically first, you would want to select the size of the brush depending on your target, on how big it is right here, because you don't want to set it too big, as this would also affect other areas you don't want to affect. So make sure that it's just the right size and be very precise or accurate with your brush. And then we have the feathering. So this basically affects how far changes can extend beyond your brushed area. So higher values means wider blending zone, which has smoother transition, but you don't want to set it too high because it might mess up the changes and so on. So you might want to play with this a little bit, as this could be a very situational setting. And then we have the preserved product. So you want to enable this if you don't want your product to be affected by the brush. So you could enable that and so on. So in this way, I'm just going to go for disabled because this is untoggleable. I think the AI is not detecting the product, but it's fine. And then I'm just gonna go for this one right here. Let's say I would want to regenerate this, and then also this one. And now I can click here on apply operation. Now in here, you'd now be able to see that it will now change this brushed part of the image. So basically you can use this in any image that you have uploaded in here in Claid. So you'll be able to see once it's done processing. And now here's the result. As you can see, the Skittles here are now gone, and it's now erased, or let's say regenerated in here. So this is basically it for the erase brush. It's that simple tool. If there are parts of the image that you would want to change or erase, this is the tool for you. And now next is that we have the AI edit. So basically this is where you can make instant AI powered changes to your image just by giving out a prompt. So in here we have this sample image that we have right here. Now I would want to describe the changes that I want. Let's say that I want to change the icing color of the muffin right here, and then to color red. Let's say something like that. And then the images to generate, so number of images. Let's say I'm going to go for 1 to save credits and click on apply operation, and let's see the result if it would do a great job. Alright, so now here is the result. Although I specifically said icing color only, and it has also affected the wrapping around the muffin, but still a pretty good result right here. I'm still satisfied. So yeah, this is basically it. You could just make instant edits in here in this feature by describing or giving out a prompt, and it should be applied. And then once you're satisfied, you can click here on download, and that's it. Next up, we have the shadows. So in here, we can set our background color and generate shadows for our product. So first, let's select our product. Let's say that I would want this one. And then you could now go here. So what kind of shadows? You can go for auto, you could go for front shadow or flat shadow, depending on the perspective that you would want. And then the background color in here, you can make it transparent or select a background color. So I'm going to select one. I'm going to go for something orangey. Let's say this one. And then next, you can go for the aspect ratio. I'm going to go into 16:9. And now, once you're all satisfied with that, you can click here on apply operation. And now let's wait for the result. All right, so now here is the result. I think the shadow here is really, really good. It's not that, the plain and unrealistic. It's really blending well to the image in here. I really like it. And you could also add or change it into other perspectives in here if you would want to with the shadows. So yeah, that's the shadows feature. Next up, we have the light fix. So select the image that you'd want to use in here. And then once you have uploaded or selected your image, is that you can now go here into the left side. So we have the HDR slider in here, as you can see. So basically, this is the high dynamic range. This slider controls how much detail and balance is applied between the darkest and brightest parts of your image. This would boost contrast and make colors pop without losing detail in shadows or highlights. So this would be great for product shoots, outdoor photos, or any images where lighting feels flat or washed out. So I suggest that you bump up the percentage or the value here in HDR. And then we have the 360 image. So this is a mode optimized for 360 degrees images and basically a panoramic mode. It adjusts lighting evenly across the entire sphere, so there aren't harsh seams or uneven brightness. So this if you would want to make your image a 360 panoramic. So I don't want that. So basically I'm just going to go and disable this. And then we have the manual adjustments in here. So this would let you have direct control over brightness, contrast, highlight, shadows, and exposure. So you could play around with the values in here, like the saturation, the contrast, and the sharpness right here. Let's see. And actually, we'll enable this just so that we can see what the effect will be. So right here, I don't want to set the exposure too high. So I'm gonna go somewhere in here and let's see the results. So you'd be able to see the results applied when you click here on apply operation. And now it's now gonna go and apply the changes or the settings that we have made in here. And as you can see, it has now made it worse because the manual adjustments that we did right here was pretty horrific. So yeah, I don't really like this one right here because I couldn't see the adjustments that I make real time, which is actually so much worse than the other apps wherein you could edit your photos in real time in exposure, saturation, and others. And yeah, you'd be able to see how it affects without costing credits. So that's the only thing here in Lightfix. That's it. Alright, so now next one, we have the resize and expand. So in this way, we have the image right here. So select your image first, and then you can now choose the fit type. So we have crop, resize, outpaint, and canvas. You want to choose crop if you just want to trim the edges. So basically, in here, we're now in crop. You can use the size presets right here. You can go for YouTube, thumbnail, video. As you can see, the dimension would automatically change according to the preset that you have chosen. Or you could just simply adjust it yourself right here, depending on how you'd want to crop this. So let's say right here, so I'm just gonna go and adjust that. Let's say I would want it to be like this and reposition it here in the middle, so something about that. And then you could now see the output dimension of this when you export this. So this would be it, so that you would be able to know. And then the standard ratio sizes, you could also select one of them right here. So basically the same thing, just like presets. So in this way, I'm gonna go for custom and just basically just adjust it accordingly to my needs right here. So let's say something like that. And then once you're done, you can click here on apply operations. This doesn't cost you any credits because this is basically just cropping. So yeah, just click here on apply operation once you want to make your changes final. And next we have the resize. So this is where you can change the dimensions. So in here we have the size presets again. We have Instagram, YouTube, and some other platforms in here that you would want to optimize your dimensions for. So depending on which one you'd want. So you could choose into one of the presets here once again. And then you could see or set the output dimensions here manually if needed. So you could just input that right here. And then the ratio sizes right here. And this is not available for resize, so you wouldn't be able to do this. But you could select size presets right here in the output dimensions. So you could just set that and it will now be set accordingly to the settings that you have specified in here. And once again, once you would want to make the output dimensions final, you can click here on apply operation to finalize it. Next, we have outpaint. So in here, this is where you'd be able to increase the size of your image, and then the AI would automatically expand your image to fit this transparent spaces. So there won't be any dead spaces in here. And basically, you could set the output dimensions here manually, or you could select the standard ratio sizes, depending on which one you'd want. So I'm gonna go for this one, for example. Just a little bit of transparent side or more space here on the sides. So that is where the AI will work on to expand our image. And then we have the border preservation in here. So if you don't know what this is basically a setting that keeps the borders of your original photo intact instead of letting the AI overwrite or blur them when generating new background. So for most of the time, I recommend setting this at a 0% because you would want the AI to work with the border as much as they want so that it would feel much smoother with the transition to the expanded space in here. So you could set it maybe at a low percentage if you want the border preservation, but I technically just set it at 0 most of the time. And then once you are done, you can now click here on apply operation and let me show you the result of this magic. Alright, so now here is the result. As you can see, the space here that was transparent is now filled in. So our image actually expanded to that transparent space. So this is what Outpaint does. So it expands your image, and as you can see right here, it is so smooth, like it has never been expanded. Like this is the original image. So this is how useful it could be and how powerful it is. So that's Outpaint, one of my favorite features in here. Next, we have the canvas. So this is where you'd be able to add blank space around the image. So you can select size presets right here, right there, as you can see. And we have some blank spaces in here. So this would give you room for text, logos, or design elements if you need them. So yeah, you could just choose different size presets for different platforms in here, depending on how you'd want it, or you could set your own output dimensions in here if that's what you want, and then select also the standard ratio sizes if needed. So depending on which one you prefer, and then click here on apply operation. Doesn't really cost you credits. And then once you're done with everything, you could always click here on download to now export your output. Next is that we have the blur background. So in this feature, we can choose general, product, car, or car plate, depending on the category wherein your image fits in, so that the AI would better understand your image and know what to blur out. So if your picture here involves a car plate, you can always select that and it will now blur the car plate, and the AI would scan it and so on. And the car, product, or general. So in this case, we're going to go for product because this is a product. And then the blur level of your choice, you can go for low, medium, or high. In my case, I'll just go for low. Actually, I'm going to go for medium, so the blur would be noticeable. And then we have the blur type. We can go for regular or lens. I'm going to go for regular for a more natural look. And then click here on apply operation. And then you should now be able to see the image being blurred. As you can see right here, it is now much blurrier. As you can see, the background is barely noticeable right here or visible. So I think we should have gone for low so that we can still see the background a bit. But yeah, this is basically it for the blur background. That is how it works. So make sure to set the blur level accordingly, and then the blur type. Next, we have the add text. So a very simple feature, it would let you add text to your image. So in here, we can select the text style right here. So we have some presets. So let's say that I would want this one right here. So money back guarantee. So you can also edit this if you would want to. You can expand this just like that, as you can see. Expand it however you'd want. Let's say I want to put it right here. And then you could also go for the text in here. So you could highlight everything. And then you could go here into font. And then you could choose the font that you'd want. As you can see, it would now change that. And I'm going to go for just enter. Yeah. And then you could go for the font size in here and some other formatting tools, even the text color. In my case, I'm satisfied with this setting in here. I just want to change the text. So let's say that I would want to go for buy now at $5 each. Let's say something like that. And then, yeah, that is basically it for this add text. It's a very simple one. You can just add text to your image in here. And then I would want to reposition this image, this text in here. So how I'd be able to do that is by just simply selecting it. So I'm just going to go and delete this because that's wrong. And now I'm going to make this so much bigger right here, so it would be much more noticeable, and place it just like that. And now you have this simple text on your image. Though there's not a lot of controls in here on how you'd be able to control the text and the design and so on, but you can be as creative as you'd want. Use one of these presets in here. And yeah, this is basically it for the add text here on Claid. Alright, next up we have the AI fashion models. So in this way, we would now be able to upload our clothing from the word fashion itself. So it's strictly about fashion items. And now I'm just going to upload my product in here. So I'm going to click here and click here on plus and select my fashion product or clothing. So it will be this hoodie Select this, click on select one asset, and now it is added. So in here, I'm just gonna go for this one, and then do you need a complete outfit? So in my case, I'll just go for add bottoms and complete the outfit. You can now choose the bottom that you would want since you have selected add bottoms. And I'm just gonna go for this one right here and click on continue. And then you can now choose the model that you'd want. You can go for female, males, kids, plus size, teens, and many more. So in my case, I'll just go for male, for example. And then I'm gonna go for a random one. Let's say just this one right here. Gonna click on that. And then now you could have some prompt in here. You could add extra instructions for editorial photography, like the background, scene, vibe, or style. And I would want the background should be dark. Let's say something like that. And then aspect ratio, you could select that right here. And then images to generate, I'm just going to go for 1 to save credits and click on apply operation. And then you should now be able to see it's now processing. Let's wait for... Alright, so now here it is. As you can see, it has now used our product, which is this one right here. And then the bottom, which is also this one. And the background, as we have specified, which is dark, is also completed in here. So it is very accurate and overall looks really good. So there's one thing that I would want to experiment with. So I would want the model to cross arm. So the model should have a crossed arms pose. Let's say something like that, and let's see the result if it would be able to follow through this request. And now here is the result. As you can see, it has now followed through my request of having a crossed arms pose with the model. So you could also specify that right here in the prompt. And there are also some preset poses in here that you could use with the model of your choosing. Right here, you could select one of this, but the crossed arms pose is not one of the choices in here. So I had to specify it here in the prompt. So that's it for the AI fashion models. And now last one for the tools in here is that we have the video. So as for this one, you would need to upgrade to get more credits to use this feature, because this would cost you a lot of credits, as this would generate a video, and then you could just choose the prompt in here. You could delete all of this because this is just a preset prompt. You could delete that and make your own prompt if you'd want to, and then you have the animation duration for the video in here, and click here on this button to finalize or process your video, and it should now be generated here in Claid. Alright, we are now done with every feature in here in the studio of Claid AI. We now know what each of these features does, so you should have a good idea on how good Claid AI is. So now let's go back here into the dashboard, and now in here let's go into integration. So you would have a bunch of options in here. So we have get started. This is where you can see a quick setup guide that walks you through enabling integrations here in Claid, but this would cost you some credits, so you would need to spend some money into this to purchase some credits in here. And then we have the API keys. So this is the unique codes that let your app securely talk with Claid AI if you wish to integrate it using API keys. So this is for developers or teams building custom workflows. And then we have storage. So this is the setting for where your process image or data are saved. And then we have usage, which is basically just a dashboard showing how much of the integration or API you've used. So this would help you track activity and avoid hitting limits. And then the webhook settings is where you'd be able to send automatic notifications or data updates when something happens. So this would keep your connected apps in sync without manual updates. And then the documentation here is basically just a technical guide explaining how to use Claid AI's API and integrations, which would provide detailed instructions, code examples, and best practices. And lastly, we have the AI playground. So for this one, this is a testing environment where you could try API calls without writing full code. So this is only for developers, testers, or curious users exploring what's possible. So if you're just a beginner, probably not the one for you. So I suggest skipping this out. And lastly is that we have the account settings in here. So this is where you'd be able to see the account and then go into the subscription and billing details. So in here, you can now add more credits. If you run out of credits in here, you can click here on buy more, and then you'd be able to select how much credit you will be purchasing in here. And then you can just proceed to buy now and so on. So make sure that you check the description of this video. Look out for some coupon codes to get discounts when purchasing credits. And then now let's go click here on upgrade to go into the pricing plan. So let me discuss this on which one you should get. So first we have essentials. So this plan is best for small sellers, startups, or individuals testing Claid AI. This would now get you affordable entry point, covers the basics, which is background removal, resizing, light fixes, and many more, with enough credits to handle a moderate workload, which is basically 500 credits to start with. And then the limitation here would be the standard resolution, only up to 2K. You would get a low credit pool and no access to premium tools like 4K generation, but still you'd be able to do a lot with the 500 credits. And then strategic use. So basically this is ideal if you are building a catalog slowly or experimenting with AI editing before scaling. And then we have the Pro plan. So this is best for established businesses, agencies, or heavy users who need volume and advanced features. So this would get you a massive 2,000 credits with premium tools unlocked, including 4K generation, higher upload limits, which is after 64 MP, and extended history preservation for project tracking, and many more. So the higher cost, but don't worry, it's justified because you are producing more at scale. And now you want to go here for build yearly here in the toggle. If you would want to save as much as possible, this would get you a base discount of $120. And basically, as you can see, if you go for monthly, the price would dramatically increase, like it has for the essentials. It has almost 2 times the amount. So make sure that you go for build yearly if you want to save as much as possible and get less price on the monthly plan on either of this plan. And now once you've chosen your plan, let's say Pro, you can click here on subscribe, and then you will now be taken into the checkout page. And from here, you can add a promotion code. Make sure to scan the description for a promotion code to get more discount. And all that's left is to provide your payment information here on the right side and click on subscribe. And then you should have purchased the subscription here once the payment goes through. And now you can use Claid AI with your new purchase subscription. So that's it on how you'd be able to use Claid AI, everything you need to know in here. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.